I've done it again. Welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast here on the Motorsport Magpie channel. We're here again. We're not talking Formula One. We've deleted two wheels today, and we're just going to have two attached to an engine and some maniacs sitting on the top of it. To join us to discuss this, as always, is Wajid. There we go. See, I'm getting slick at this now.
Hi everybody.
Yes, we do actually have other things to do with our lives apart from this, but yeah, actually, no, I don't.
As of next week, I don't either. So
yeah, so welcome.
This is my life as of next week.
This is our day job, basically. So yeah, welcoming everybody. If you haven't already, if you're in Twitch, not if you're in on YouTube, but if you're on Twitch, up on the chat, which will be on that side, I think. Yeah, it'll be on that side. There's a link posted, pinned to the top. That is our F1 review of Miami. Obviously, again, if any spoilers are still a problem for you, tough luck. Lando won it. But today we're going for the two-wheel variety.
We're in Wednesday. If you've not watched the race by now, like, it's not even a spoiler anymore. You just don't care, do you?
No. But today, what we're going to do is a bit of a different kind of look back over the last 4 rounds of MotoGP. Ironically, MotoGP decided to bring out their new rules for, is it for next year or the year after? I can't quite remember now. But they brought out the new rules coming out from 2026, I think it is. Anyway, we're going to 850 brake horsepower engines instead of 1,000. Is it the right thing to do or whatever? We're not here to discuss that because we technically don't know enough about it at the moment. They've sent it all out, and the people who know. But that Casey Stoner, the former world champion, has come out and said it's going to be great for the engineers, but not great for the riders. Doesn't fulfill me with a lot of confidence knowing how it's worked in F1 lately.
It sounds like Formula One. I was literally about to say, it sounds like Formula One.
Yeah, so that's been the long and short of it. Hello, Will, for tuning in. Thank you again for tuning in via Twitch. Obviously, we're live on YouTube and Twitch. Sorry if you get ads on either. That's not my fault, basically. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at each rider that's come in. We're going to see how each of them have performed already this season and whether we think they should have done better or whether they are outperforming where they should be. So what we've got to do that is this little contraption, which if I press that button, ta-da!
Ta-da!
I'm getting good with this stream deck. I'm going to keep saying that as well. So what we've got here is A star if they've been pretty much perfect or well above expectations. A will be very, very good as such. B will be average. And C will be could do better. And D will be watch out. There's a Moto 3 or Moto 2 rider looking over their shoulder, ready to take your seat. So without further ado, we will try and we'll give you as much information as possible because obviously we've sat here and done X, Y, and Z, and I don't know why there's a spirit level in the background. Very weird. Anyway, maybe we can level the playing field with Ducati. Anyway, terrible joke. We're going to start.
As Will asked, is Ducati the Red Bull of motorbikes? Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
At this moment in time, yes.
To give you some idea as well, there are the driver's points scrolling along the bottom. I've only done the top 12 because it'll take forever to get them all on there. And also, I'd have to keep changing it because it only lets you so many letters. Just while I've got the very quick chance, I'm just going to share this out so you can all join in. If you have an opinion on a rider, feel free to pop that into chat and basically give your opinion on it when we get to each single one. So I'm just trying to find a link for this. I am not good at this. I am really not prepared with this. So we'll send that out. And then obviously people should get the notification anyway, because you should be following or subbed on YouTube to these to this channel. So you shouldn't actually need me to do this, but you know, we've got to create awareness. I'm just trying to think who would we like to start with? Do we start with somebody nice and easy, or do we start with somebody a little bit more difficult?
Let's start with the more difficult ones, and then we'll work our way up to the easy. How about that?
That sounds a good plan. So what we'll do,
because by the time people catch on the stream, we'll actually sound like we know what we're talking about.
Fair point. We'll give that. I'll give that. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I also have to share the YouTube version out as well. I'll do. Sod it. If you're not watching, you don't care. Anyway, so what we're going to start with is hard to easy sounds better, Will says. So we'll go with that. First, hard to better. Now, as you can see, we've got these aren't all the drivers below, because as you'll see, if I pick Maverick Vinales here, others move round. So just bear with us. They are all there. Just this is the best way that you can see both of us and see the riders. Not that you want to see us anyway, you just want to hear us. Yeah, well, to be fair, you don't even want to do that. So somebody who we've got a mix. I mean, we've got to look at this really carefully now, because we know the Japanese manufacturers are struggling, and it's not all about the bike. But it's very hard to judge these people on other standards. So I'm going to actually go with some of these Honda riders first. So let's go. Where is he on here? We're going to go for. God, it's hard to see, isn't it? Where's he gone? That's the Repsol one. There he is. I'm going to pop him in B for a minute. Luca Marini. Now, this was a rider who was absolutely on form last season in terms of racing. He was on the Ducati. He is the not stepbrother, but yes, I think he is stepbrother or something to Valentino Rossi. Can't quite remember the relationship. He's somewhere along there to Valentino Rossi. So kind of in the bloodline to a point, but certainly a very capable rider in his own hands, has upped and left to take Marc Marquez's seat at Honda. And well, 20th, 17th, 16th, and 17th.
A grand total of 0 points.
Yeah, no points on a Repsol Honda.
A works. For those who don't know, that's a works machine. Like,
yeah,
Ferrari is a works machine. The Ferrari being a works Ferrari in Formula One. Honda designed the bike, designed the engine. It's basically it is the sort of Mercedes, Ferrari at this moment in time, even Red Bull equivalent. Just for context for our regular Formula One fans. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, no, that's true. Repsol Honda had such greats as Casey Stoner win on their bikes.
Marc Marquez,
Nicky Hayden, McDoohan. That's to name 4 of them.
Alex Crivelli as well.
Oh yeah, Crivelli. Yes, that's when I just started officially kind of watching MotoGP. So I remember that well.
That was his one good season where he put it all together.
Yeah, and then afterwards, Kenny Roberts popped along on what I think was a Suzuki.
So the blue Suzuki.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Luca Marini. Very good in his own right. Not had any points in sprint races at this stage. Honda struggling as the lowest scoring manufacturer. So we have to take into fact that most times in a race, if you look at the order, you have, it's the maternal half brother of Valentino Rossi, sorry. 59 starts in MotoGP. No wins as yet, a couple of poles and a couple of podiums, but 8th in last year's World Championship on the Ducati. Goes to Honda, and well, it hasn't worked out for him at all. I don't know if he just turned up and thought he could change the bike or what.
I really don't know it, but to go from what has been, for all intents and purposes, the dominant bike, any version of the Ducati, whether it's been the Works Ducati or one of their sister teams, it just seems like a strange decision. It must be one of those that I can bring this back to my former glory. I want to be the one that leads the Repsol Honda. I think you're being generous by putting him in B.
Oh no, I've put him in B just so people can see him.
Sorry, my apologies.
Obviously moving around.
Sorry, my apologies. I think you're generous because the bike's bad. Don't get me wrong, but his teammate has at least scored points. He's been. I mean, Marini's been absolutely nowhere, and I don't care how bad the bike is. It's still a Works Honda.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we look over the last few years, who have we had on that? I mean, this is now going back to when. I mean, obviously we've had Mark on the bike; he's done really well, but you've had Jorge Lorenzo jump on it, not being able to do anything with it. You had Alex Marquez jump on it, even though that was a very late deal for him to jump on it. But you're going back to the Ducati days where Ducati could only get one person to ride a bike. It was Casey Stoner or Capirossi or Dovi. And now it was Bagnaia at first until everybody else seemed to get their heads around it. But at Honda, it just seems like you can't get... I mean, there's a lot of praise out there for already a multiple world champion in... his teammate Joan Mir. Marini isn't a serial winner, don't get me wrong. You know, in 5 6 years of Moto2, he won 6 races. But unless you're champion, you don't really go on massive winning runs in Moto2. It's quite impossible. So where would you put Marini at this moment in time? Obviously taking in mind that the bike is new to him, even though it's not a good bike. Are we saying his seat is in trouble?
I don't think his seat's in trouble given how bad the Hondas are this year, but he's in a C. He's a strong C.
Yeah.
If we get halfway through the season and he's not scored any points, then it's a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just having a look. Actually, last time out for the Honda test team at Spain in Jerez, Stefan Bradl beat him. And I know I think he's had a number of falls as well, which probably mistaken. And you've got to say, you're going from a very stable Ducati to a Honda, which there's only one rider who could ride it, and that was Marquez, and he was falling off left, right, and centre as well. But then he's still falling off a Ducati as well. So, you know, I mean, it's take both ways. Yeah. So we'll leave Marini in there. As we're going on that course, let's finish off the Repsol Honda team. We have Joan Mir, world champion in the, shall we say, the season that didn't have Marc Marquez. You know, that's always what's remembered as for me. But it was one, you know, he wasn't even. I mean, don't take it away from him. It was an amazing ride, and he obviously took the championship with. He's only won one MotoGP race in his career, and that was in that season.
It was more his consistent. It was more his consistency. But he was just the most consistent driver that year. He wasn't. it's a season. It wasn't a season of dominance like we had with Marquez and Valentino and stuff and people we've had back in the day. He
Yeah.
was just consistent. Everyone else around him just kept on falling by the wayside.
Yeah, in 2020, obviously we only had 14 races, but he podiumed in 7 of them, won the championship with 171 points. But then the next year he got 208 points and finished third with 4 more races. So it's but he is a 2-time champion. He won the Moto3 title, only had 1 year in Moto2, and then moved on to MotoGP with Suzuki, developed that bike really well with Rins. It was a really good combination until his final year with Suzuki that went a bit downhill. And then he's gone to Honda, and again last season 26 points, 22nd in the. He couldn't stay on the bike if you super glued him to it last year. This year seems to be staying on a little bit better, but it's not much better. He's 2 points clear of Augusto Fernandez, who is getting absolutely battered by his teammate.
On the Tech 3 Yamaha.
On a Tech 3 Yamaha, yeah. And look, Yamaha have not had it good either this season, but Honda are almost like Alpine in Formula One this season. They're just
I feel like Honda are waiting for the regulation changes. I feel like they're hoping for the reduction in the engine and stuff like that. I feel like Honda are bagging on the engine changes and the changes to be perfectly honest, because this sort of era has been the Ducati the Ducati era. Sorry,
yeah.
As I stumble over my words. He's not going anywhere. When you have, regardless of how you win a world championship, or Marquez might not have been there, etc., etc. End of the day, he's still a world champion. And you have to be, as we've seen in Formula One, you have to be dang near awful in any sort of category to get rid of a world champion or blow up the entire team, burn every bridge, a la Fernando Alonso. So he's not going anywhere. I think they're going to stick with Xiaomi to help develop the bike. I think he's going to be their leader. Because the other thing is, I don't see any of the top riders leaving Ducati for a Honda at this moment in time, to be perfectly honest either. So he's the best of what they have. It's a marriage of convenience for both of them, in my opinion.
Well, I'm just having a look at it now. He is 7 points clear ahead of Johan Zarco, who's the next best Honda. The 4 Hondas if you include Bradle, holding up the foot of the table. We've got to be saying, like you say, he's got to either. There's rumours of him going to Trackhouse on the Aprilia, because obviously he has the links with Davide Brivio, who's gone back there from. Well, he went to Suzuki to Alpine, and now he's come back to MotoGP. So, Joan Mir, do we think he's ahead of Marini, but in the same sort of order, or do we think he's doing a decent job on a bad bike?
I think he's doing a decent job on a bad bike. My personal opinion. Definitely not. Just leave him in B for the time being, and I'll see how the rest of the drivers run.
Yeah,
because we can always lift and shift given on how everything plays out.
Yeah, very true. Let's have another look at a rider who we think is we know is definitely struggling, and it's really hard to judge. If I can find his picture, there we go. Jack Miller. Now, Jack, obviously, huge fan favourite. Ridiculous how much he's loved. But he's sitting down in 14th in the points when his teammate's sitting 7th. His teammates had top 10s all the way through, second in the sprints. A couple of points in the sprints, but not a lot there for KTM to jump on the sprints, apart from that world champion Spaniard that we'll get to in a bit. But Jack has really not had the season he wanted he really needs to come back hitting hard after, I believe, winning the last race last season.
Yeah.
So no, he last won in Japan in 2022. That's how long ago it was that Jack Miller won a race. Wow, I didn't realize that. Not many wins over Jack's career anyway, but a fan favorite. But is he having? Well, he's obviously having to look over his shoulder at KTM, but is he looking over his shoulder at a career in MotoGP?
Yeah, I do. It's not worked for him. He was supposed to be the next Australian import after Casey Stoner.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't, it really just hasn't worked for him, really. I mean, and it's not like he's not had good machinery. He was on a Ducati for
It works Ducati as well.
Yeah, for a good period of time. While again, correct me if I'm wrong, if my timeline is out, his teammate won a world championship on the bike.
Yeah.
In Pecco Bagnaia, I believe.
Yeah.
So, it's not like he's not had the opportunity. It's not like he's not had the machine underneath him. Just for whatever reason, when he comes up against a teammate, he just of similar talent, he gets blown apart. Pause.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one because I love Jack Miller. I love his entertainment. I love the way he rides. But it does seem, and I don't know if this is a KTM thing, but you sit on, everybody's on the grid with medium and hard tyres or whatever, and then Jack just turns up with a soft tyre, and you go, well, if nobody else thinks it's going to make the end of the race, why all of a sudden do you think when you're one of the most flamboyant riders on the grid?
Absolutely, I was good. I was just going to say he's not the smoothest rider around the corner.
It just doesn't seem to make any sense, and it's really frustrating to see because I do think the talent is there. He did jump up very early from Moto3 in his career, but he's had the years in MotoGP now. If he does go, which it looks like he will at least leave the factory KTM squad. We've got teams, obviously, he could go to Tech 3, which I think would be very good as a mentoring side of things. But also, we've seen now, I mean, we've got Marc Marquez on a customer bike. You don't have to have a works bike to be a world champion. It helps, but you don't have to.
It helps in the development, but if you've got the skill and the talent, you can excuse me, you can win on the machinery. Just like you said, we'll get to him, but Marquez seems to be getting his head around the customer Ducati. Because he drove really well in Jerez, like I said, we'll get to. But I just think he's had his time, he's had his opportunities, and if he doesn't put it together this year, I think he'll be there one more year. But if he doesn't put it together next year or two, you've got to start looking at whether he's fit enough to be in MotoGP, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, for Jack, though, I do think it won't be an issue him going off and finding a seat, say, at World Superbikes. I think he's not going to be out of a career of racing. I just think it'll be... And he does often in the winter go off and do the Australian Superbike Championship, so it's not like he's not there for training. So Jack, we've got down a seat in trouble, but we do think there's a good chance that he probably will end up just on one of the lower teams, maybe on an old bike or something later on, or if not, World Superbike. So it's not career out, but it seems certainly looking precarious, and that is because of this man. If I've got my picture right, let me just yes, it looks like it is Pedro Acosta. Now, we said we were going to go hard to easy. Rookie of the season already, hands down, because he is the only rookie on the grid. So it's quite easy. He's won the Rookie of the Year championship before we even start. But I've got to say, I didn't see this coming. I thought saw him in Moto 3, saw him in Moto 2. He struggled in his second year of in his first year of Moto 2 to really get started on the bike. Had a few falls, didn't really hit the ground running as everybody expected. But then last season, he took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins on his way to the title. He took 6 wins on his way to the title in Moto 3. He won, when he was in Red Bull Rookies, he won 6 on the trot to start the season. So, he's a serial winner, but it just didn't look like it was going to work for him at first in Moto 2. But, I mean, even KTM couldn't have seen the form that he's brought into MotoGP.
No, absolutely not. I mean, to be fourth and to be the highest KTM, to be fourth in the world, to be fourth in the world championship standings, to be the highest non-Ducati.
Yeah.
I think you can tell it's a guy driving without no fear whatsoever. I mean, he's young. He's in the series. He's not on a factory team. He believes he's got nothing to lose, and he's driving well. I mean, sometimes he's driving well beyond his experience. To be honest, not only rookie is obviously he's going to be rookie this season, but I think he's one so far in the opening stint. He's one of the riders of the season, to be perfectly honest, and he stays in that A-star category. You can't put him anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he turned up at Qatar, no fear, got fastest lap, was flying along, and you're sort of thinking, yeah, all right, you've got no fear. You were sticking it to everybody, but Marc Marquez is on a new bike. You're on the, I can't remember if he's got the old KTM or the new KTM, but you're not on a fully works bike as such. And you've got Brad Binder and Jack Miller to try and beat to get into that works team. You'll have the eyes of the world upon you. Doing the first race is the easy bit. It's doing it afterwards. And then he goes and gets a podium in Portugal. It's just like, what? And then he gets second in America, which is not the easiest track. That's a Marc Marquez track's hand down. 10th in Jerez wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't the best of issues, but
sorry to cut you off. But I always take Jerez as a Jerez to me is what Catalonia is to Formula One.
Yeah.
All those drive is a test track. Majority of those drivers in MotoGP have probably know the Jerez circuit better than they know their own street. Probably some of their own family members. Probably even some anatomy parts of their own, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Given how long they're there, how much. So I think the Jerez thing is literally just an experience. I literally think Jerez is just an experience thing because it's the first time he's ridden there in MotoGP aside from testing. Everyone else has, like I said, been there countless times. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does this week in I believe in France. And we'll take it from there.
Well, the Le Mans track, yes. Before anybody jumps on, it's not the full Le Mans track. I wouldn't be riding one of them bikes down the Mulsanne Straight. But in terms of the circuit, it always seems to bring up a good race. There's chances to overtake. There's chances for mistakes. It's up and down. Especially when we have turn 3, we see turn 4. Well, it might probably turn 4 and turn 5 actually. A lot of fallers there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on because obviously it's not a circuit which they can go and test at all the time and things like that. So we're going back to the kind of Kota and Qatar type circuit. So let's see what happens with Pedro. But so far, so good, mate. I know you're not watching, so it's fine.
He might be.
He could be.
We've got a better chance of getting a MotoGP pass than we do the Formula One pass this moment.
Well, I'm not sure because Liberty Media own both now. Let's have a look here at another driver hit another rider. Sorry, we keep saying driver. It's just automatic. It is a rider. We know. Don't jump on our backs. Another rider that moved teams, and it's not gone well. Another Honda rider. There's a shocker. Johann Zarco jumped off the Pramac Ducati, where he managed to get the win last year. Finally broke that duck, stealing it off his teammate, ironically. But a great ride. I think I'm trying to think where it was now. It was in Australia.
Phillip Island.
Ben sort of switched off until he got to Valencia, where he got a podium at the end of the season. Jumped on a Honda, finished 5th in points, and he's got a grand total of 5 points out of 4 weekends.
Good return.
Yeah, great idea. I mean, it's a difficult one because we are, Johann Zarco, he came in as double world champion in Moto2, won it twice in a row. Not many people do that because you normally get the step up to MotoGP. And he's always been this enigma of trying not to win. Then you finally get the win and you go into Honda, who is the worst bike on the circuit at the moment. But then we've had people with experience like Cal Crutchlow jump in that very seat and progress and get victories. But the Honda was a lot better.
If Ducati rated him, they'd have kept him.
Yeah, my big problem was it when he went to Aprilia? Was it Aprilia? Yeah. And he just went, I don't like the bike. I'm not going to ride it. And he just went, not Aprilia, KTM it was. Sorry, apologies. KTM when we were struggling. He was on the, I want to think, what team was he on? The Aventi. So basically, he was No, he was on the KTM. Who works KTM? Yeah, but then he left it for this very seat he's in when Cal Crutchlow got injured. So he's been here before. He knows the team well enough. And it hasn't clicked. There's no doubt about it. This has not clicked.
Johann Zarco is a man who is driven by his ego, who still believes he's that Moto2 rider, and it's not worked. It's not worked in the big leagues. No one can tell me otherwise. He has one victory, and everyone was hyping that victory like it was the second coming of Jesus Christ himself. Oh my God, what a victory. It's not worked. Put a pin in your ego. Put your head down. Get to work. Simple as. He's not as good as he thinks he is, and with the attitude of a trophy wife, there's no wonder why he has not progressed further.
I think, obviously, I'll put him down to here. I actually think he needs to start watching his back because Honda needs somebody with work rate right now. And I'm not saying Johan wouldn't work, but it's whether he wants to, especially at his age. You think about Cal Crutchlow, who was in that seat before. He would turn up, he would ride every day that was possible, and he'd do all the test riding for Marc Marquez as well. Now, I know that Honda now have their special dispensations and stuff like that, like Yamaha do. But I will tell you one thing. If Yamaha are to progress, it's because Cal Crutchlow is on the bike doing wildcard rides. He says he's doing more weekends than he did when he was on the calendar. Whereas I can't see Johann Zarco doing that. And if you are Honda, do you go and get a Jake Dixon, a Vietti, I'm just trying to think of somebody in Moto2 who just works hard, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you're paying a damn sight less than you are to have Johan Zarco on that bike. And his teammate last year fought for a world championship when he didn't.
I mean, the proofs in the pudding. Proofs in the pudding, isn't it? Like even if Honda wanted a Japanese rider like Agura, who's
Yeah.
fifth in the championship, and the Japanese rider on a Japanese machine, all that. Zarco, like I said, Zarco's ego is bigger than his talent at this moment in time, and that's about it. Really, it's not worked. He's got his victory. You don't have the ethic. You don't have the desire. I don't care. Get on with it. We've given Johan Zarco more time than he gives. We've given
Yeah.
Johan Zarco more time than he gives a damn about testing the machine. Says it all, really.
Another driver another rider who we think is obviously struggling because of a bike, but seems to have been given more time because there hasn't been the next Japanese rider coming through. We got to look at Nakagami. He's been in MotoGP. It feels like forever now. His best position, he's had 106 starts, 1 pole position, 405 points. So 4 points a start on average on a Honda since 2018. And his best position in the World Championship is 18th. I don't think he's staying in that B column. Do you?
No. Let's put him in the let's put him in the seat in trouble column, and let's just we already wasted enough time on his teammate. I don't want to risk Nakagami is just happy to be there.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't even made a podium. His best ever position, I'm just scanning up. He has been, as I say, in since 2018. His best, was 13th in the World Championship. But even previously, he'd only got 2 Grand Prix victories to his name. 2 before he jumped in. And yet you got Ayagura sitting there going, give me a chance, Honda. Please give me a chance. Nakagami isn't going to become the next Japanese hope, is he? So why keep him?
He's not a Yuichi Ui, let's put it that way.
You're going back a bit.
Fair amount.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say somebody like Kato, if you remember Kato on the who came through and was very unfortunate.
I think it's either Zarco or Nakagami that lose their seat to if Agura finishes in the top 3 in Moto2, Zarco or Nakagami lose their seat next year.
Yeah, I mean we've said maybe Marini and Mir will stay if they can to try and build on the bike. You may as well bring through a new youngster because there is. I mean, you look at that. You've got the experience of Marini, Mir, Zarco, all being there developing bikes. You've got Nakagami, who's learnt off Marquez. There's no youthfulness in that team. There isn't.
There's not.
I mean, I know. Don't get me wrong. These drivers aren't old, but in terms of like fresh into MotoGP, like your Costa, you've got nothing. You may as well find somebody to step forward. And speaking of stepping forward, this season he's had to step forward. Raul Fernandez, dreadful first season, got to say, absolutely dreadful. But then it wasn't he looked uninterested last season, I'd say, when he was there. He's a former second in the World Championship at Moto2, but was absolutely flying near the end of the year in 2021. Was on the KTM in his first year, 14 points. So it was the KTM year that was terrible. God, these years fly by quicker than you expect. Last year on the Aprilia, a little bit better, got 5th in the finale. And he's kicked on since. Don't get me wrong, but he had a couple of retirements. A Trackhouse effort has come in. We've got better people in that team now. And in terms of how he's going against his Trackhouse teammate, who is a multiple Grand Prix winner, Miguel Oliveira, he's not far behind him considering he's had 2 retirements. And yeah, I'm starting to warm to him, even if he doesn't seem the warmest character on the grid.
I'm not. I don't understand what it is about these drivers that jump on a KTM and think, "Oh, I'm happy to be here. I don't have to put any work." You know, okay, cool. He's in his second. He's in his second season. He's in his second season in Aprilia. Yes, it's not. It's not a works Aprilia, but the Aprilia machine. But the Aprilia machine is a lot better than they used to be in the top class. Let's put it that way. And what he's being one. He's being a couple of people. Cool. He's currently 11 points behind his teammate on the same machine in Oliveira. Cool. That's about as much as I give him to be perfectly honest. Like, yeah. See.
Yeah, I think he's young enough and getting the experience enough not to be in trouble just yet. But if we're looking at that, let's say Jack Miller stays in the KTM stable, then we are looking quite good in terms of Raul Fernandez staying. But say Jack Miller leaves, so in terms of Raul Fernandez struggling to find a seat, because they want to bring, Trackhouse will want to bring probably Joe Roberts through to have that American rider on the grid. But if Jack Miller leaves the whole paddock, then that opens up a place for Miguel Oliveira to move on back to KTM. That's where Raul Fernandez would actually stay in the team and have some experience to be able to pass on along with Joe Roberts. That's all fantasizing for now, but I think he's doing okay, but he needs to improve to keep his seat in terms of moving forward. He might get to stay in the same team, but I think he's got to try and look at moving forward in the grand scheme of things.
Pretty much, absolutely, totally agree. But I do think he needs to be his teammate to go anywhere this season.
Yeah, speaking of his teammate, we may as well pop him in. Miguel Oliveira, KTM. Aprilia now, has been on the KTM previously. His first win was at Portimao, absolutely dominant at his home Grand Prix on a non-works bike. That was just like a performance out of the blue. But since then, he's picked up another win in Indonesia, Thailand, Catalonia. He won the Styrian Grand Prix as well back in 2020. So he actually has 5 Grand Prix victories to his name. He's just got to stop going missing every now and again.
Yeah,
I feel like he's I'm trying to think what to compare him to, but he's a bit like a Nicky Hayden, but not in his championship year. In his championship year is great, but he just went missing every now and again.
I was gonna compare him for our Formula One viewers. I was gonna compare him to the current to the ground effect Mercedes, which is when he finds the perfect range, right? The dark green range, he's up there as one of the best drivers. The problem is that range is so small, right?
Yeah.
Any pinpoint where it goes left or right to the minute tenth, he will go missing, and you'll wonder, hang on, where's all the pace gone? Why are you down in 15th this week after you were challenging for a win last week? So that's what I compare Oliveira to. I think he has. I do think he has the talent, and unfortunately, he doesn't. Obviously, he's not old, but for MotoGP, he is old. Given I believe he's turning 30 next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just unfortunate that his teammate is younger and they're more likely to build around his teammate. But it's a solid. It's a season where you come to expect from him, isn't it?
Yeah,
He'll he'll probably do better. I think he'll do quite well in Le Mans, and then he'll go missing for the next 3 races, and he'll pop up again when he goes, "Oh, I've heard rumors about my seats. I best show up for a race or two." And
yeah.
that's generally what happens with Miguel Oliveira.
I think we've certain, I mean, he's got 23 points on board. He's not far off the back. Okay, we have had a retirement for Alex Marquez, but he's not far off the back of Marquez. But I'm going to give him a little bit more credit in terms of it is a new team, ownership at least, and need to work out how to progress. So I would leave him in B. I think he's done a decent job for a new team. But now, especially when they get to like Netherlands and Germany mid-season, they need to have kicked on and be consistently trying to get that top 10, which they've done so far. But obviously, people will start working out their bikes and things like that. Maybe in Kazakhstan. Oh, no, sorry, we're not going to Kazakhstan now. Forgot about that one. So he can't pop up in Kazakhstan. Well, he might do, but there's no race to go to. Next up, we're getting through these pretty quickly. Let's see if we've got one which is nice and generally easy for us. Pecco Bagnaia. We'll go with the double world champion.
The reigning defending double world champion.
Yeah. We've seen a few incidents this season. We think of a ref. We think of he had a retirement in Portugal where he had the clash with Marc Marquez. It's not been stellar by Bagnaia, but like the last few seasons, if he does go missing, the next week he will turn up and dominate the weekend. Took the win in Qatar, took the win in Spain, in a really good fight with Marc Marquez, to be fair. I think we're definitely looking at A, but weirdly enough, I don't think we're seeing while Jerez was probably one of the best rides received from Bagnaia in terms of a fight, I still think there's that little niggling thing where, for example, Marc Marquez, when he was on top form, you didn't see him for dust. Same with Valentino. Same with Jorge Lorenzo, Casey Stoner. With Bagnaia, you still think there's that accident waiting to happen every now and again.
Yeah. I think the second world championship sort of solidified his status as a quick rider without the mistakes. Like the talent's always been there. There were the mistakes, and to be honest, I think this season, if Marquez gets sort of a hold of a bike, gets to grips with the non-works the sister Ducati, I think he could challenge. I think he could challenge him because it was very, very close in Jerez between the two of them. Pecco found the lap of his life in with sort of 2-3 laps ago where he pulled out the lap record out of absolutely nowhere, which gave him the win. But you can see this. You can see a renewed drive in him. Having Marquez, having a 6-time world champion, having someone who people put up there as one of the greatest riders that the sport has ever seen. So I think it's a nice challenge for him. It's early in the season. I think Pecco will be there at the end. I think for all intents and purposes, we could be talking about a triple world champion by the end of the season. So far, I think it's been a good season. Was he second? I believe he's second in the world championship.
Second with 2 wins, 75 points.
Yeah, and given that we have a sprint, in MotoGP we have a sprint race every weekend now, along with a feature race. Points aren't hard to come, but like one weekend and one good weekend, and he could be back at the top of the world standing. So I'll give him an A. To be perfectly honest, I can't give him an A star because he is second, and to be honest, I believe the worst Ducati is the best is the best bike on the grid.
Yeah. Next, we'll bring in his rival, the championship leader currently, Jorge Martin. He thinks he was robbed of last year's championship with the issue with the tyre that he had in, I want to say it was in India. He had tyre issues in, sorry, Qatar. It was the tyre issue. In India, he retired as well. Very, how do I put it to you, Jorge? Very sought after, very, very quick, but also very passionate. And sometimes that passion boils over into, like, we see him go on a run and he's absolutely dominant. And then the passion boils over a little bit too much. Like when he got to a championship last year, and it just, sorry, he finished second in India, didn't he? It was Indonesia he retired.
Yeah.
He couldn't handle the pressure. It was almost like Charles Leclerc going into a championship battle.
Yeah, pretty much. Mentally fell apart.
Yeah.
You'd like to think that the experiences he learned from excuse me. You'd like to think the experiences he learned from last season he can put it this season. He's had a stellar start so far. He was nowhere in Jerez. You'd like to think in Le Mans he'll be back there challenging for the win. And because he can't make mistakes if you're fighting for a world title, if you're fighting against the Ducatis, the works Ducati, sorry. So I mean, he's top of the world championship. You have to put him in A-star. He is leading by, I believe, 27 points, I believe.
Yeah.
So, which it used to be a lot. Now it's one weekend.
Yeah.
So,
very true.
So yeah, so you know he's doing what he can so far. He's fueled by last year's anger. Let's see how it goes for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's a difficult one with me and Jorge because this season has literally typified how he is. He has, dominated Qatar in terms of the sprint, took pole, third, won in Portugal, fourth in America, won the sprint. Did he win the sprint in? Yes, he won the sprint in Jerez, but then fell off in the Jerez race. And you're just thinking, you're a championship leader. You build up that points lead. He only had to finish the race somewhere at Jerez, and he's looking at a much bigger lead, being able to control it. Even at this early stage, take the points that are on the table and try and bring it home. And he didn't. Is this going to be where we start seeing him going, can he bring it home? Can he just score the points when it's not going perfectly for him? We'll see. France, we've already mentioned it, difficult circuit. Could we possibly see him fall off again there, and then anything could be in the position then? But we put him top. You can't do anything else for a championship leader after 4 rounds. Another rider who is, I think, having a very good season, and I've just realised that they look almost identical in these pictures. So we will put Bagnaia back in A, and we'll start on Enea Bastianini. Hi, Jimmy, just popping up in the chat. How you doing? Enea Bastianini. He is.
We're not xenophobic. All Italians don't look the same.
No, I was just like, I just looked at it and went, I'm sure that's Bagnaia still there. The only thing that actually, because the pictures are quite small, the only thing that actually made me tell the difference was Bagnaia had a moustache. But we're Enea Bastianini, absolutely rapid on the Grassini bike a few years ago, stepped forward to the works team. And then had that awful break last season, came back, managed to grab a victory on his way back through, and I think a very solid start to the season. You know, he's had a fifth, a second, a third, and a fifth. He's 5 points behind Bagnaia. Yes, Bagnaia's had a retirement, but you know, it's the closest Ducati have probably had a teammate to Bagnaia in a works capacity. Yes, Jack Miller was thereabouts, but in a works capacity, it's really close.
It is really close, but he needs to push. He needs to push on. If he wants, you've got the double world champion as your teammate. They always say the first person you got to beat in any sport is the world champion. Is he fortunate that Pecco binned it with Marquez in Portugal? Yes, he is, but no one's going to remember. No one will remember that if he beats him and he wins the world championship. This is his best bet at winning this world title. Yes, he got very lucky. I believe with the break in Barcelona. I believe.
Yeah,
I think it was Barcelona.
You carry on. I'll double check.
No, that's fine. I believe it was Barcelona where he got the break last year, but he was still. He wasn't anywhere near Pecco at the time. Anyway,
No, he had the injury in Portugal. Tried to come back in Jerez.
Sorry.
And did not start that either, and didn't actually get his season started till Italy. Then he did 5 races, and then didn't start Catalonia, where he had to miss another 4 races.
Sorry, sorry. It was it's because I thought the miss at Catalonia is where he did the break. My apologies.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, yeah. So this is his best chance this year if he ever wants to be, you know, a world champion. But he has to up the form a bit. Like he has to take proper advantage. And you know, when week on week your bike is the quickest bike at every race you show up, if you're getting fifths and sixth and stuff like that, Jerez needed to be Jerez. There was no excuse for the Ducatis. There was no excuse for a Ducati works driver. You have to be up there. You've rode along that racetrack so many times, like I said earlier. So there was no excuse for Jerez. He has to come back in France. It needs to be consistent from now. For me to beat Pecco and to beat Jorge Martin, he needs to literally finish on the podium every single race between now and the season, in my opinion, because that's the type of caliber he's facing with those two drivers.
So basically, on his 4 races so far, are we popping him in B, or is he just about an A?
Well, he's just about an A because he's 5 points behind Bagnaia. So you know, I can't. How can you mark him? It's not his fault. It's not his fault. Pecco decided to play. It's not his fault. Pecco decided to play. Yeah, dodgems and skittles with Marquez, but he's got the opportunity now. He has to carry the form. It has to be consistent from now to the end of the season.
And with Bastianini, it's not always the start of races. It's normally the second half he's stupidly strong in. Personally, I can't believe we're sitting in this situation that actually there's only one Ducati rider which we can say is definitely on a Ducati next year, and that's Bagnaia. Martin could be going off to Trackhouse or Aprilia or whatever. He's been caught by everybody. He won't want to stay. Oh, sorry. While I jump onto that, Premac are in discussions about not being a Ducati team next year. They're thinking of going to Yamaha. Don't ask me what hit them on the head there. Also, the other team looking at it are the other Ducati squad, Grassini, which would be a turn up for Buxton and Marquez. You suddenly get yourself a Ducati and they swap it for a Yamaha. But there's talks of Yamaha getting another team on the grid, which would be good for them for data in terms of that, because obviously Honda have a couple of teams. Jorge Martin could go anywhere next year. Bastianini seems to be in under pressure, even though he's obviously had a decent start to the season. And then you've got the two VR64 boys who are. It's not 60. Is it 64? This is VR64.
No, it's VR46.
46. I knew what I meant. Why on earth am I getting Valentino Rossi's number wrong? Anyway, let's jump onto them two as well, because they've had differing starts to the season. We'll start with Digi Antonio. Fabio had this moment last season where he suddenly felt like he had to turn up. He had an epiphany. It was like Easter. He rose from the dead. It was just remarkable how he suddenly found a setup on that Ducati. Won a race, should have been on the podium in the final round, but obviously the tyre pressure ruling and all that, which we won't go into. And he's turned up on the VR46 team out of nowhere. I think he turned up in Valencia and said, basically, I've got some levers, but I ain't got a ride in the test. Give me time. I might get one by the end of the weekend. Got one with VR46, sitting 10th in the points, just behind Bezzecchi, who's had a poorish start to the season by his standards until he got the podium in Jerez. So how do you feel we'll bring up both VR46 boys, actually, because it's probably easier to talk about them at the same time. Bezzecchi, championship contender for a lot of last season, now sits down in 9th, 14th, a 6th, an 8th, and a 3rd. So it's took a while to get going. For this team, do you think that both these riders are pretty much safe? Or do you think they're looking over their shoulder?
No, I think they're waiting to see what happens next year. And I know what you say about if people have hit their head, moving from, going back to the 850cc. You have to remember the 850 Yamaha was the most dominant machine during the 850 period. Yeah. It's only when we moved to the 1000cc that no one's managed to find the same engine power as the Ducatis for whatever reason. So I think people are nervous, and the Valentino Rossi Yamaha, the VR46, moving back to the Yamaha in the 850, it's got that whole MotoGP fairy tale, hasn't it? So I think both of them are fairly safe. Both of them are fairly consistent. It's two Italians in it, and another Italian-based team. It's gonna take utter capitulation from both of them to not be there next season.
Yeah, I think Fabio's jumped on that bike a lot. I mean, obviously it's the same bike he had last year anyway, in all intents and purposes, but just different colours. I think Fabio's done a great job to step up alongside Bezzecchi, not get daunted by it. But Bezzecchi needs to kick on a little bit now and prove that he is somebody Ducati wants to keep, because he fell away in the championship fight last season, and this season he hasn't started as well as he probably should have done. But I think you've got Bezzecchi, a clear B, and Fabio's kind of switching between a B and an A because of his story of how he didn't have a ride. He couldn't prepare for this season as he probably would have wanted, because he didn't get the ride until Valencia itself. While we're talking about people who moved rides, he moved from one Japanese constructor, which he's probably quite glad he jumped off that Honda, to Yamaha. Alex Rins. He went from Suzuki to Honda, won in America, but didn't do a lot else on a Honda. He's currently sitting 19th in the points, second in the Japanese championship, shall we call it, behind Johan Mir. He should be such a good rider, but it didn't quite go at Honda how I expected it would do. And at Yamaha, he's Well, again, clearly, sorry, I say he's second. He's not. He's third because Fabio Quartararo, the former world champion, is having a blinder in terms of the Japanese manufacturers. It's almost like Honda last year, where Marc Marquez could ride a bike and nobody else could. Yeah, it's just he needs to step up his game.
He's begging Suzuki comes back. That's where he is at this moment. I think he's at Suzuki headquarters in Japan going, boys, we had such a good thing going.
Yeah. Come on,
Please.
we were winning. We won the last race together.
Like the whole jaded lover crawling back to his ex. That's what Alex Rins is doing right now. He's there opening his diary going, day 300 without you. My heart still yearns for you. So that's all he's waiting for. If Suzuki announced they're coming back, Alex Rins will be knocking on that door with his CV. He'll take a pay cut. He'll be like, I will do whatever it takes to take that seat. That's where Rins is at the moment. He's just not found the form since he left. He's just not found the form since he left the light blue. It's not working out. And bear in mind, he's on the factory Yamaha. The Monster Energy Yamaha is the factory Yamaha. Let's put it out there. And I understand the Japanese machines aren't doing that well, but it's pathetic.
Yeah, I really do think we expected Rins to be a little bit closer to Fabio. Fabio is a world champion. He came into MotoGP very young, but Rins has the experience. Are we saying he needs to look over his shoulder? Because the only thing I can say about this that's saving him is who the hell would be the next. Who would Yamaha pick up next?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's not looking over his shoulder, but he needs to get his shiz together.
Yeah, they've got to try and find somebody, but I just don't know who it may be. Obviously, into the Ducati fold, which we're going to move on to next, the driver who I think maybe needs to watch over his shoulder, which is Alex Marquez. Now we've seen him obviously team up with his brother yet again. His brother absolutely flying, no doubt about it. But Alex has not had the best of starts to seasons. He's down in 11th in the points. He's not been slow, don't get me wrong. It's just not quite worked out for him. And while you remember, Ducati have got Firmino Aldeguerra signed up and ready to go from Moto2. So he's coming into a Ducati seat next year. We might have two less Ducatis on the thing, on the grid. You've got Bagnaia, Bastianini, Martin, Digi, Bezzecchi, Marquez, and Alex Marquez. Out of all of them, I think you're dropping Alex Marquez if you kept everybody.
I think you're dropping Bastianini because you're not pissing off Marc Marquez.
But then who's going in alongside? Yeah, I get that. Also, we go back to rumours of last season where Marc Marquez was going to buy into a team. Obviously, didn't quite happen that way. But Alex's season so far, what do you think of it?
It's an A. He's finally got his head around it. He should have won in Jerez. And what is he? I believe he's fifth. Is he fifth in the?
11th.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm getting Alex and Mark's mixed up.
Yeah,
sorry.
Hang on. We'll go down a little bit. I was thinking that. Have you got wrong, Marquez?
Sorry. Yeah, it's a C.
Yeah, it's not been the greatest of times for Alex. He can go ahead of the Honda riders.
Really?
Yeah, I mean he has actually had some pace.
He's behind both VR46 Yamahas.
Yeah, but this is a problem. Like you got Firmino Aldeguerra to come in, there could be two less seats. I'll put it out there now. Actually, we'll finish off Ducati because they're the dominant ones. I think at least I kind of want to go A star. Because you've got to think how different this bike is.
I can't go A-star because him and Pecco binned it in Portugal and they both could be higher.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Mark obviously retired in America as well when he fell off. So yeah, okay, I'll give you that. But in the grand scheme of things, Marc Marquez has jumped on a Ducati, completely different, needing totally different riding style. He was even following Alex around to try and learn the riding style at the Valencia test. And he has hit the ground running, and he's a championship contender. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, but all he's doing is showing why he won 6 world championships. He's also showing why people believe if he hasn't had the level of injuries this man had, because this man has been, collecting breaks like a grave robber. The way he was breaking bones that you like you only as a doctor you'd hear about.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like what the hell's that? Going to Google stuff like
it's almost the David Beckham metatarsal moments.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like people researching how long to recover and stuff like that. It's the breaks that have slowed Marquez down. It's not his talent.
Yeah, and in terms of jumping on a new bike, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not like jumping in another car because you are part of the bike. He's got a fourth, he's got a second in. I know we've got the sprints as well in there, which he's done very well in. He's 32 points off Jorge Martin. Now, if it was Marc Marquez prime in his Honda days, you'd be going, that's not enough. He could have 4 races out and still catch you. I still think it's the same now. I honestly do.
No, I agree. I agree, but he's got to stop bidding it.
Yes, this is where I think he's got to pop into his head. Hang on, I don't need to push this like I used to.
No, I'm absolutely 100% with you.
Who we've got 6 riders left. So, just while we finish the Ducati riders. Oh, sorry, go on. I'll let you plug yourself in.
Sorry, my battery's died.
No, that's absolutely fine.
I'm always on my laptop because it's easier.
Yeah. What I'll do in terms of the Ducati, we've gone through all the riders. Say 2 rides go, and you got Firmino Aldeguerra to come in. So you need to drop 3 riders next season as a Ducati contract. Who goes?
Bastianini, Marquez. Ooh. Bastianini, Marquez. Who's
Digi and Berzon? Martin's teammate.
No, who's Martin's teammate?
Have we not done him? Oh, we haven't. No, sorry, we haven't completed the Ducatis. Apologies, he was hiding around the corner of me.
Morbidelli. Yeah, those
Morbidelli, yeah. Yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, you could be looking at Digi having an issue and Morbidelli moving into VR46 because he is a 46 driver. Morbidelli's season, apologies, Franco, but when you've only got 6 points and you're on a Ducati, it's questionable. He obviously had issues at the start of the season, injuries to get over, but yeah.
Just put him in seating trouble. Put him behind Zarco, unless that's as much effort as I'm giving Morbidelli. His teammate is leading the world championship. End of.
Yeah, we'll see how he gets on. Obviously, he's had a few injuries to try and get over this season, but yeah, 2 retirements, 2 18th places doesn't say a lot. But the points coming from the sprint race in Jerez, where he finished 4th. So something clicked, but then decided.
Yeah, but then where was he?
He collided with Jack Miller, didn't he?
Yeah,
in the race.
Exactly. So, like, if anyone sees in the most trouble this year, regardless of what Pramac make as a decision, it is Morbidelli.
So my choice for who goes in terms of Ducati, I think if anybody's going to go in terms of the teams, somebody like Premac or
Excuse me.
I know the legacy with Yamaha and Valentino, but I do think it'll be one of the other teams that go. It seems to be Grassini, which is a bit of a shock. In terms of Ducati, I think Morbidelli needs to watch his back, but he would end up at VR46. So sadly, I think it'd be Digi. I think it would be Alex Marquez, and I think the other rider to go would be Jorge Martin to another team. He wouldn't lose his. I wouldn't lose his drive, but the Ducati have got to a stage of the Red Bull Academy. We've got so many riders, and we don't know who to drop. It's that kind of situation. So I think they need to just watch their back.
Yeah, but be careful because the Red Bull Driver Academy hasn't really produced a lot since their
That's true.
Since their crop either. We've had Seb, Carlos has been slightly successful. Danny Rick a bit more successful.
Yeah.
If you talk about outstanding success, it's only been Seb Vettel and Max Verstappen.
Yeah. True.
But yeah,
anyway,
let's get to the I was just gonna say let's finish this list.
We've got the final five. Augusto Fernandez came into a sport in. He's currently obviously getting absolutely demolished by Pedro Acosta, but we also have to take into account that Acosta is something special. Did a decent job last year, but this year hasn't really kicked going his best of 11th in Portugal. Looking over his shoulder, maybe?
Yeah. Especially when you're he's the established rider in the team as well, and he's getting absolutely trounced by his teammate.
Yeah.
Not good luck.
Yeah, very true. I would say that in that kind of situation, I would say he goes behind Jack Miller because if you're replacing him, you're probably putting Jack in that seat. Probably, I can't see who KTM have got next in line from Moto2 to go, right, that's who is next up. Absolutely. Maybe they'll grab somebody like Sergio Garcia, but we'll see about that. Final four, we will go with Brad Binder, absolute showman on the bike. In a sprint race, he could go from 18th to 1st quite easily.
And in a Grand Prix, he can go 1st to 18th just as easily.
Yes, but that's any KTM who can do that unless it's Pedro Acosta. Jack Miller. The KTMs have not advanced as well as I expected, shall we say, in terms of works team. They seem to have took a step back compared to everybody else. But he's 7th in the points. He got 2nd in Qatar, kept it in the top 10, unlike his teammate Jack Miller. I don't think he's obviously not looking at going anywhere. Do we say B?
Yeah, but I'd put him behind both the VR46 boys.
VR46s, yeah. He's had a good season, but I don't know. He is the one which we expect to be winning Grand Prix, and he's not compared to Acosta.
Yeah, pretty much.
Next up, shall we split it? Let's do Fabio Quartararo because we've got the two Aprilia riders left. They are here; they're just behind me, so bear with us. We've got Fabio Quartararo on a Yamaha, former world champion. He's almost got a podium in the sprint. Obviously got that penalty for the tyre pressure situation, but did hold the trophy, did stand on the podium. We seem to have lost Wajid. Hello, Wajid. I think his computer's gone. So bear with us a minute. We're going to go on to Fabio Quartararo as soon as Wajid gets back. But the rider who is a multiple champion in terms of... Sorry, he is a single world champion, but he didn't have a stellar career before he come into MotoGP. He was very quick, but only 12 wins overall. Sorry, no, 1 win overall before he got to MotoGP. I think what's happened is his Wajid's laptop's died, so just bear with us. We've got a situation where he came into Grand Prix. Yes, here he is. He is back. Told you he was. Did your laptop die?
Yes, it did.
Yes, I thought it did. We're just going to start on Fabio Quartararo. 1 win before he came into MotoGP on 66 starts, 4 podiums. But then since he's come into MotoGP, he's been on the Yamaha all the way. He was on the Tech 3 to start with. He was the swap for Valentino Rossi and has not looked back since. Took the World Championship in 2021. Last year was only 10th, but we've got to think how bad the bike has been over the last couple of years. Dominated his teammates. And this year, to drag... I know the sprint race in Jerez was a bit just one of their Monaco 96 moments. It was like nobody wanted to finish it. But he got on the podium. And he's still got the talent to get there. Can he get there with Yamaha? That's the other question.
As I feel like I've said a bunch of times on this stream, the Yamahas are waiting for next year. Excuse me, with the regulation changes. Quartararo don't go anywhere. He's the last world champion Yamaha the Yamaha team have had. He's right. He's been driving. He's like you said. He literally slapped every teammate he's had. He's doing the same this year.
Yeah,
it's a solid drive, but that's about it really. You can't put him in the A or anything like that because he's nowhere. You can't reward mediocrity regardless of how bad the bike is. He's a talented rider. Sorry, the talent is still there. Yes, he doesn't have the machinery underneath him, but you can't put him higher, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would say he's around Brad Binder in terms of his season compared to what machinery he's got. Shall we
Absolutely.
say? He's if you take the machinery he's got, which just about overtakes a Moto3 bike, it's great. He could be winning Moto3 races, maybe Moto2 even on that bike. But in terms of MotoGP, not going to get there unless we have one of them wild races. Currently, though, 2 points off Alex Marquez, who's on a Ducati. So, in comparison, very good by Fabio. If this was a school report, keep up the hard work. It's not a must-try better, and just wait till and maybe if you can get somebody to sharpen that pen a bit more, you'll get more writing out of it. But it's sit there and wait till the bike develops. Luckily for Yamaha, they have the extra bits in terms of the testing. They've got Kyle Crutchlow for 3 wildcard rides. Absolute epic in terms of a test rider to have alongside you. Fabio and Cal. Maybe you stick Cal as a teammate and you might actually, they might get the development done. Who knows? Finally, we go to Aprilia now. We're going to start with Alex Espargaro. His brother, obviously, Paul, jumped off to do test riding for this season. It seems to be a common thing. You don't retire. You fly around the world and do even more days riding a bike, but not with the pressure of a race. Espargaro's been nowhere in terms of my opinion this season. He's been very much just hanging around 8th, 7th, 6th, around there. But compared to Maverick, he's not had the best of seasons. And this is why I would personally put him. I'd pop him behind Brad.
You're generous. I was going to put him at the top of C.
At the top of C. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
I mean, his teammate won a race in
America.
in America at Cota. His teammate is whooping his ass. What I think, he's 39. He's 39. Of course, 39 points, eighth in the world championship. We're talking about Maverick Vinales as a potential title contender out of absolutely nowhere. And generally speaking, Mavericks had the best of him. I believe is this Mavericks first season or second season in Aprilia? Is it second season? Second season, right?
Give me a sec. My mouse has just died as I was just about to check. I was going to say it's his third because he had a part season as well.
Oh yeah, he switched halfway in 2022, didn't he?
Yeah, when he decided to try and blow up the Yamaha. He jumped on the Aprilia. So this is his third full season. His fourth iteration of Aprilia bike.
And this is probably the best iteration Aprilia have ever made as well, which is funny.
Yeah.
I can't. I put him at the top of C. I put Maverick as like the top of B stroke, just below /A, to be honest, because no one expected that Aprilia to be anywhere. No one expected Vinales to be fifth in the world title in the World Championship race. No one expected we talk about Maverick Vinales in 2024 as a potential world title contender.
Yeah, I agree with that because Maverick has come in and has been at pretty much nowhere in terms of his teammate. Espargaro has been dominating him. And, Vinales has come in this season. Qatar, very quiet. Even though considering Vinales is normally one testing on fastest. First race, absolutely flying. Rest of the season, absolute nowhere. But he's actually come in. He's got firing straight away. 2 sprint wins, a win in America. Portugal possibly could have won that as well. And if he had won that, we'd be talking about him second in the World Championship. So it's definitely a chance for Vinales, but he needs to hit the ground running a bit further on. Espargaro, I think he's looking at maybe leaving at the end of the season. Maybe his brothers told him how nice it is to do some testing. But as we said at the start, we were ranking these on our 2024 so far. We've obviously put Pedro Costa and Jorge Martin at the top. Having good seasons is Marc Marquez, Bagnaia, Bastianini, and Vinales. Having the seasons we expected from them, Digi, Bez, Fabio Quartararo, Brad Binder, Luca Marini, and Oliveira. People we think need to do a little bit better: Espargaro, Alex Marquez. Sorry, that's Johan Mir. It's I've just seen the overalls. This isn't my problem. Marini, Raul Fernandez, and Alex Rins as we're not having a good season, but we're not going to have to worry about our rides just yet. And seats in trouble. We think there's 5 places on the grid at MotoGP 2025 in Nakagami, Jack Miller, Augusto Fernandez, Zarco, and Morbidelli. Noticing there's 4 bikes all mentioned there as well.
Yeah.
You've got Ducati, Honda, KTM, and 3 bikes. KTM, Honda, and Ducati. There's no Yamaha on there.
Or Aprilia,
no. But then again, we're not expecting a huge amount from them anyway.
No, so but yeah, no, that wraps up our ranking so far of the drivers this season. We will attempt to be doing reviews of MotoGP as well.
Yeah.
Don't hold us to that. We are trying.
Yeah. In terms of the MotoGP, we'll see how this video obviously goes, because we will obviously target the things which people want to watch the most. That's just obvious. But if people want to see this kind of content of MotoGP, we're willing, we could do one every week, every time of a race, or we could do one every couple of races or whatever. Just depends how the calendar falls, because we do actually have real world life to worry about instead of sitting in front of this camera trying to do a 40-minute podcast in 90 minutes. We're good at this, aren't we?
We're amazing at this.
Wajid, thank you for joining us on this slightly different podcast, of course.
Thank you for having me, as always, mate.
We've got
my social balloon.
Yeah, socials. We are going to get the pointing right to the end. There is a Wajid over on Instagram,
and Dave's is over there. There's the corner over there.
Yeah, it's there. Okay.
That's the one.
As always, we're live on Twitch and YouTube. So even though we seem to have not a huge amount of views, I'm going to press raid because, hey, it's fun. On Twitch. So we'll go and raid. Let's just raid Dario because he's funny. So we'll raid Dario across there. We will see you all very soon. Obviously, this weekend we've got MotoGP France coming up, so we may do one next week. But we do have other things in plans as well. So if there's anything you want us to cover on this channel, let us know, and we will do so. So from Wajid, it is goodbye, and it is goodbye from me, and we'll see you next time, whenever that may be, for the next review. Goodbye.